Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about Cympha Studio Essentials, finding your way around Studio the very first time you open it. This one assumes nothing. Whether you're a clinician, a designer, or a patient who just received a link, no previous Cympha or 3D software experience is needed. Studio is a browser app. There's nothing to install. By the end of this lecture, you'll know what the 7 workspaces are and how to switch between them, how to open a scan or a treatment plan, how to drop a measurement, how the photo gallery works, and how the case bar plays a staged treatment plan back. 10 minutes of orientation that makes every other Studio lecture in this series easier. Follow along at Cympha.com or listen now and read later. 3 things to have ready. First, a modern browser on a laptop or desktop, Chrome, Edge, or Brave. Studio does its heavy 3D work right in the browser. Tablets and phones can open the URL, but folder-based project save, articulation, and distance measurement only fire on real keyboards and pointer devices. Second, a Cympha account. Optional, but recommended. Studio opens and renders with no sign-in. Drop in a scan from disk and explore and measure freely. Sign-in is needed for cloud actions, creating a Cympha case, opening a case shared with you, saving back to the cloud, and for few in-app actions, saving a cephalometric tracing to the gallery, the area touch-up and remove region cleanups, and the Smile Design PNG download. Third, sample files, any STL, PLY, or OBJ, a planner view file from OrthoPlus, or a DICOM CBCT. No files at all? Sign in and open a case from app. Cympha.com. Studio pulls the files for you. Open Studio, Cympha.com, and you get an empty 3D scene with a small navigation strip on top. At the top left is the workspace switcher, and Studio has 7 workspaces. 3D processing, optical scans, mesh viewing, registration, articulation is the default. Orthodontics carries OrthoPlus cases, tooth staging, and IPR. Ortho monitoring plays a treatment plan side by side with the patient's monitoring photos taken at each step. Implant covers CBCT loading, implant planning, and implant project interrupt. Facial scan handles face capture, landmark verification, and CBCT alignment. Ceph image processing does lateral X-ray landmark detection and tracing. And digital smile design is single photo smile design. Detect the teeth, frame the design, generate the new smile. Don't try to memorize the list. Pick the workspace closest to your task, and if you're not sure, just leave it on 3D processing. Here's why that's safe. This is the single most important idea for a first session, and the one that saves the most confusion later. A workspace is a menu filter, not a mode switch. It's the same viewer and the same scene in every workspace. Switching only narrows the hamburger menu down to the tools relevant to that kind of work. You can switch workspaces at any time without losing anything you've loaded. The practical consequences run both ways. Positively, load a scan in 3D processing, switch to facial scan to align a face, switch back. The scene rides along untouched. And diagnostically, when you can't find a tool the docs say exists, the workspace filter is almost always why. The menu item lives in a workspace you're not in. One footnote for completeness. Ortho monitoring is the one workspace that also rearranges the layout for its side-by-side playback. The other 6 only filter the menu. Loading happens from the hamburger icon at the top left. The drop-down has 2 columns, models and data, and view and help. 4 openers matter, each appearing where it makes sense. Open optical scan file takes STL, PLY, and OBJ. Add a texture in the same picker for a colored scan. Open DICOM takes a folder of DCM slices, loaded as the primary CT. Open OrthoPlus plan takes the GVW review file, the staged tooth position case. Open Implant Project takes a Guide Mia implant project, with 1 guard. Writing changes back requires the matching DICOM loaded. Studio blocks a mismatch save. You can also drag and drop a file into the viewer. Studio infers the format from the extension. And open via a file link, Studio picks the workspace automatically. A plan link lands in orthodontics, an implant project in implant, meshes in 3D processing, while a Studio project file or a DICOM leaves your workspace exactly where it was, since either could belong to any kind of case. The bottom left shows load progress. A single STL is near instant. Big DICOM volumes take a while. Once anything is loaded, the camera takes 4 gestures. Left mouse drag rotates around the scene. Right mouse drag pans. The scroll wheel zooms. And the 4th one is the gesture people don't discover on their own. Double-click any object, and that object becomes the rotation pivot. From then on, the camera orbits around it, which is exactly what you want when you're inspecting 1 tooth or 1 implant site rather than the whole scene. 2 recovery moves live in the hamburger menu under View and Help. Reset camera brings you back to a sane framing when you've rotated yourself into confusion. No shame in it. Everyone uses it constantly. And clear scene wipes everything loaded, so you can start over. That's the entire navigation model, 4 gestures and 2 menu items. 2 everyday tools round out the basics. First, measurement. The viewer has a left-side floating toolbar of single-purpose tools. Click the distance icon, the ruler, then click 2 points on the surface, and a line appears with the distance in millimeters. Know what it's for. Communication, not clinical decisions. And each measurement automatically saves a gallery snapshot with the value as its comment, so the number travels with the project even after the on-screen line is gone. Second, the gallery. From the hamburger menu, Add Pictures takes intraoral photos, facial photos, retraction shots, JPG, PNG, or WEBP, and they land in the gallery panel, a draggable, resizable floating panel on the right. Click a thumbnail to open it full size. Annotate with a circle marker editor and save the marked up image back to the gallery. Drag the bar to move the panel and its left edge to resize. And if the plan file you're viewing has photos embedded, some Ortho Plus plans do, the gallery lists those alongside your own. Now the part patients and doctors love, playback. Load a plan review file in the orthodontics workspace, and the case bar appears along the bottom of the viewer. It has a step slider. Drag it to scrub through the staged plan from step 0, the initial position, to the final step. A step number readout with play and pause controls animates the whole treatment. And an upper-lower toggle lets you watch one jaw at a time. In the ortho monitoring workspace, the same case bar pairs with the monitoring playback panel, a side-by-side of the plan at the current step and the patient's matching photo for that step, scrubbing both in lockstep. That's the workspace that also rearranges the layout, as we said earlier. One reassurance for experimenting freely. To get back to the original plan after playing around, just reopen the plan file. Loading it again replaces the orthodontic case layer without touching anything else in your scene. When you've assembled something worth keeping, scans loaded, photos added, measurements dropped, save it as a project. Save project as, in the hamburger menu, picks a folder and writes a CYP project file plus an asset folder alongside it. Chrome and Edge save into a real folder on disk. Other browsers fall back to downloading a zip. Reopen it later with Open Project, and the whole session comes back. Keep this distinct from a different action with a different purpose. If what you want is to send the scene to a lab or a colleague as a Cympha case with statuses, approvals, the full workflow, that's Create Cympha Case, and it has its own doc and its own lecture in this series. Save Project is for you. Create Cympha Case is for handing off. Knowing which one you mean is half of using them well. The 5 first session snags. The scene looks empty after loading. Workspaces filter the menu but share the scene. Check the workspace switcher, because a plan link lands you in orthodontics, where the case bar and ortho tools live. Tools misbehave on a tablet. Distance measurement, gallery drag, and articulation need pointer-find devices. Phones and tablets can view, but editing degrades. A DICOM zip loads blank. Studio expects an unzipped folder of DCM slices, not a zip, the opposite of app. Cympha.com, which accepts zipped DICOM for upload. Extract, then use Open DICOM on the folder. Your session is gone after a refresh. Studio offers a restore previous session prompt on the next load, but if you clicked Start Fresh, that session is wiped. Durable keeping is what Save Project does is for. And a tool the docs promised isn't in the menu. Cephalometric analysis, add facial scan, simulate articulation. Each is only visible in its own workspace. Switch, and it appears. That's the orientation. 7 workspaces that are really one scene with a filtered menu, for openers and drag and drop for getting data in, for camera gestures, a ruler and a gallery that both feed the project record, a case bar that plays treatment plans, and a project save that makes sessions durable. Every Deeper Studio lecture in this series, the mesh tools, the face reconstruction, creating a case, builds on exactly this foundation, so 10 minutes here pays back across all of them. The written orientation, with every menu path and format detail, is at cympha.com. Open the docs section and find Cympha Studio Essentials. If you're new to the platform, subscribe and follow along. We're walking through every Cympha workflow, one lecture at a time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.